Jam on toast!
Hey everybody, welcome to the Jam. I'm Cam Ryan. Today the toast is to Southpark, bigger, longer, uncut. This is a response to SourcefedNerd's movie club. And oh, SourceFed, the things you do to me makes me want to show people on the doll where they touched me. So the short sale on this one is that the Southpark kids go see a Philip and Terrence movie and emulate all the foul-mouthed nonsense that's in the movie. Like these kids had clean mouths to begin with. Their parents kind of go insane and end up kidnapping Terrence and Philip, and somehow a war with Canada is started. But that leads to an invasion from hell from Satan and Saddam Hussein, his dear, dear lover. My love it for this, I actually thought the lightning powers that Cartman got from the implanted chip were pretty cool. And maybe it's from watching too much Dragon Ball Z where they say a bunch of stuff. At the time, I wasn't really aware what it meant, and it might as well have been cocksucky donkey fucker. I hate it, despite all the horrible things that are in this movie. The runner-up being Get Behind the Darkies. I had left it up and just trying to process the movie, and the credits ended, and Ike's sitting there, a little mouse walks up, and he eats it. That actually disturbed me more than the movie did, and maybe it's because I was paying more attention at that point. The MVP for this, I honestly don't believe there is one. But if I have to award it to somebody, it's the creators, because the creators are the only thing that hold this together, and the small bit of redeemable messages in the movie come from the structure that the creators put into this. And I can't remember their names, and I'm not going to look it up in on categories. Aesthetics. South Park is pretty iconic, and it's not poorly produced. I've never really cared for the cartoon style of South Park. It just rubs me the wrong way. I don't know what it is about seeing those, and if you really think about it, that's probably what I would end up drawing, because I'm not an artist. And maybe that's part of it, is because they take something that's iconically not great art, and they turn it into something you see everywhere. Now, obviously, they can do better because there's certain points where they do, and they actually threw in like some CG effect and some real neat digital cell sliding to do the tunnel effects and into the space, which actually looks like it's 3D, and they really mixed it up there to show that they can do things, but they do what they do on purpose because that's what people recognize, and that's part of branding and advertising. Aesthetics gets a 70. Character development. This movie just kind of assumes you know everyone from South Park and doesn't really bother to introduce you to anybody, not explicitly at least. South Park as the whole brand also doesn't have any continuity, so it's really hard to place anything, so you wouldn't know who the characters are at this point anyways. The design is to come in as a blank slate. Here's some little foul-mouthed kids that have these traits, and they don't stop reminding you about them throughout the movie. Now, given that they don't explicitly introduce characters in any special way, you learn from them situationally. As they're exposed to each other and they interact, that's how you know who they are. You know who's the Jewish kid and parents, and the fat guy, star mom. I don't know. The characters aren't worth talking about, except how Kenny gets killed all the time, and that was my favorite part of season 1. Character development gets a 50. Storyline. This is actually a pretty amazing story. If anyone else had done it, I would be pretty sold on it, because I know the in-between points are not going to just be useless shock humor. If I told you that someone was going to kidnap some celebrities from another country, and then our country and their country would be at war, and then part of that would be opening a door to hell to cause a demon invasion, that's a pretty good movie. But this just twists and tweaks and balls it up until it's a big metal pretzel that no one will ever eat. And I can't say that because a lot of people like this, and South Park as a brand is very successful. I'm just not going to chew from that particular dough, thank you. Storyline gets a 90. Compulsion. I was so bored. Just why? I don't want to watch it. And it's on, and then occasionally something funny happens, and then occasionally something offensive happens. It really kind of makes me sad that this is what America thinks is funny. I don't know what the worldwide statistics are on this at all, but I remember when I paid attention to it that it was doing really well in America, and I can only hope that it does horribly in Canada. The main point being shock humor without being shocked is friggin' useless. None of it surprised me. None of it was like, oh my god, they did that? No, none of that. I see it happens, I think, why did they do that? And it was to shock the audience specifically because they were playing off the sensitivity of America, and I just don't care. Chances are, if you are known for making racist and bigotry humor, I'm not going to be a fan of you. Compulsion gets a 30. Now, if you total all that up, you get an average of 60. For my wrap-up review, I gotta say, there are worse movies out there, and there are worse cartoons out there. And I'm not going to point you to this as a better example than those, but I'm not going to point you to any of the others either. I never thought South Park would get past season 1, let alone have a friggin' movie. My favorite part of South Park was just seeing how Kenny died each time, and I really wanted to go to the internet and be like, hey internet, show me all the times Kenny died. And unfortunately that wasn't quite the thing, or I wasn't as familiar at the time. This probably demographics best with users of drugs, immature children, and people who have been suffocatingly confined their entire life, and then they see this and they're like, oh my god, this is a thing? Because that's what this entire show does, is to be topical and play off the sensitivities of people to try to shock them into a reaction, whether it be funny, humor, or shock and offense. I'm afraid I can't recommend this. If you like it, great. Don't let me stop you from watching what you love, but this is not a movie that will sit in my collection. That's it for me. I'm Cameron. Have a nice day. If you want to see anything else we're up to, go ahead and click the annotations, and they'll take you to our other channels.